Of the same ballots.
I regret to have to say, but it was on the 9th, at 9 o'clock on the day of the 9th.
And how did you become aware that there was this discrepancy?
I had had a chance to look at the figures, and also Mrs. Tyner came in, and she was bringing it to my attention at the same time. Someone had brought it to the attention of our county judge, and all three of us were scrambling for the telephone.
Do you remember looking at all of the reports on all the machine recounts all over the state and seeing that you were the only county in the entire state that the second machine recount went down over the original election night recount?
Yes, sir, I noticed that, and also the judge wanted to know how could that be possible.
When you say the judge, you're talking about Judge Williams.
Yes, sir.
Now, did you make an effort to try to figure out how in the world you could be the only county in the state where you could do a machine recount twice and the second machine recount could be lower? Did you consider that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Almost immediately we knew what had happened, and we proceeded to try to correct this.
I put on the screen a chart that, you remember you and I drew that on the wall of my office?
Yes, sir.
And if we look at it, we can see that there's a lot of the red ones that are turned up, and
yes,
there's a few that are turned down.
Yes.
Now let's go through, and this is again a demonstrative, Your Honor, not offered for any mathematical, just to make the point. Let's turn to see what happens next. And again, we did this the other night in my office. Is that what happened? Did somebody go through all these jumbled up ballots and try to pick out the red ones?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, normally would Ms. Judy A. Tyner do that? Or at least have supervised it in the past?
She would have supervised it, or yes, Judy would have probably pulled them herself rather than have anyone else pull them.
But as we've heard, she wasn't around because she was running to be your successor as a Democrat.
Right.
Now,
if she didn't pull them, she would have seen to it that they were pulled. And there's also a way of knowing that you have the correct number, because we know how many people voted on the 7th. And if your red card goes through, then you compare that number, and it would be the same.
So we're now talking about the machine recount, and you've told us how the substitute people you had went through the box and tried to pick out all the red A ballots, presidential ballots.
Yes.
And was the next thing you do, did you tell me that it's your belief? Now, nobody knows this because those have been sealed up. Is it your belief that what happened is that somebody missed some of the red ones because they were turned upside down and they just, in the fury, didn't see them all?
That's correct.
But just as you told me the other night, Ms. King, nobody can know that at the present time because they've been sealed up tight since.
Yes, sir.
Was the next thing that was done, the A ballots that you were successful in removing were taken and run through the machine, and I've just drawn a box here to show the machine. Is that right?
Yes.
And when you did this, although you didn't know it until the 9th, the number that were counted was 218 ballots less than the ones that had been counted on election night. Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, and then what happened is, after you counted the red ones you counted were all put back in the same big box, right?
Yes.
And after that was, what did you and the other supervisor of election do with all these ballots after they were put back in after the second machine count?
The boxes are closed and they're sealed.
Well, how are they sealed?
We have a special tape with the signature of the canvassing board placed on the transfer boxes that are sealed up.
And you all then sign them with your initials
Yes.
across it?
If not all, we at least have the judge do that.
Judge Williams?
Yes.
Since the second machine recount was run on the 8th, have those seals ever been broken to this minute?
Not since the 8th.
Now, you told us that you conducted this recount after what was it announced in the area up there that the machine recount had been 218 votes short of the election night machine recount.
When did I announce that?
No, that was a
I'm
bad
sorry.
question. I'll rephrase it. Did it become, well, did you at some time announce in Nassau County that the second machine recount had come up short of the election night machine count?
Yes, I talked with many people about that.
I'm going to show you Defendant's Exhibit 69. Counsel, I was just handed it. It's a letter from somebody that says they want to have a count.
November 22nd.
Yes, sir.
The date the letter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'll first show this to the witness. It's to Shirley King, Supervisor of Elections, November 22, from a lawyer named Mr. Wood. And I'll ask if you can identify that letter. Did you receive it, please?
Yes, I did.
And then with the court's permission, I'll put it on the screen.
Any objection?
No objection.
Without objection.
What Mr. Wood says is that he's attorney for the Nassau County Republican Party, and he says your letter to the Division Director of Elections indicates the recount was flawed and results in a loss of 218 ballots. And then he says he wants this, he says, please consider this, it's Exhibit 69, as an urgent request to certify the appropriate count at your earliest convenience. Now, after these events, did you suggest doing a recount, another recount?
I'm not sure if it was another request made after that letter, but on many occasions I did request a recount.
Could you get anyone to give you authority to let your canvassing board there in Nassau County do a third count to see what the problem was?
I could not get permission to open this, to break the seals on the ballot case.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you contact the State Division of Elections for advice?
Yes, I did,
Did you get advice?
verbally.
And who were the people you talked to up at the State Division of Elections?
Connie Evans, Clay Roberts, and Ed Cass.
And what advice did they give you? And this is not offered for the truth of it, Your Honor, only as to what she was told and heard. What advice did they give you?
If I remember correctly, that would be up to the canvassing board, the Nassau County Canvassing Board.
Did they suggest that you convene another board meeting to consider this?
Yes.
Did you convene another board meeting?
Yes.
Now, you told us earlier that the board was composed of you, Judge Williams, and David Howard. Was David Howard present at the reconvened meeting of the board?
He was at one and he wasn't at the other, and I don't know which one you're referring to.
How come he wasn't at the other?
He had gone out of town.
Was Mr. Howard replaced by another board member when he was out of town?
Yes, he was.
Now, if we look at our screen, we'll see that another one of the people running here was...
District 5. District 5, go down.
Oh, thank you.
First candidate under District 5.
First candidate under District 5 is Mary Ann P. Marshall.
Yes.
Was she the one that replaced Mr. Dave Howard on the canvassing board?
Yes.
Now, when was the canvassing board meeting held where she showed up to replace Mr. Howard?
The morning after Thanksgiving.
The 23rd, 24th. 24th. Now, at the time she showed up, the day after Thanksgiving to replace Mr. Howard. Do you know whether she won her election for county commissioner?
Yes, she most definitely won her election and had
Was
already...
she still a candidate as of the day after Thanksgiving, or had she been already sworn in?
She was no longer a candidate, and she had been sworn in.
Did you post what you consider to be legal notice of the meeting the day after Thanksgiving to consider the discrepancy between the two recounts?
Yes, it was. We did notify the people publicly.
Can you give us just real, in a nutshell, the kind of notice you gave for this meeting?
There's 3 entrances to the courthouse annex where the meeting was held, and there was a notice on all 3 doors. There was one at the Public Works, and our county attorney made sure that it was posted at the temporary courthouse, which is the courthouse.
Was there anything in the newspaper?
It was in the newspaper.
Okay, now we're coming to the meeting on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. Was anybody there?
Yes, sir. People from out of state were there.
From out of state?
South Carolina, Georgia.
How many people were there?
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 50, I'm assuming.
Was it
It's a very small area.
Was it in any way a contentious or was it a contentious meeting?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
Well, was there, did people get hot? Were people arguing and fighting and, you know, the kind of thing that...
I feel like I was the only one that got hot.
Was it a peaceful meeting?
There was very peaceful, and I had people there with signs to support Mrs. King.
Now, at your meeting that you had the day after Thanksgiving, did you vote to amend the November 8th certification?
Repeat, please.
At the meeting you had the day after Thanksgiving, did you vote to amend the November 8th certification of the machine recount?
Yes, sir.
And what was the vote, please, Ms. King?
3-0.
And what count did you vote to send up to the Secretary of State in your amendment?
The vote of November the 7th, 2,387.
Now, by the way, this 218 votes, those aren't Bush votes or Gore votes. Those are just a total difference in ballots, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, when you voted 3-0 to amend, well, why did you vote to amend the certification and send up the original November 7th machine count? Why'd you do that? Right.
Because I had lost 218 votes in Nassau County, and I wanted them counted. I wanted every vote to count.
In your, quite a few people have been saying that, every vote.
Right. That's, and I have been sleeping on the couch saying I want my vote to count too.
Did anybody at the meeting stand up and object to your 3-0 vote to include to amend your certificate to include the original count of 25,387 presidential ballots?
Yes, sir. Excuse me. I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, John Cascone.
Who's he? Please.
I think he's the attorney for the Democratic Party.
Did he give a speech or talk?
He spoke to us about what he thought we had done incorrectly.
Did you give him all the time he wanted to address
Yes.
you? That's all I have. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Clark?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Douglas?
Ms. King, I'm Dexter Douglas, and I represent Vice President Gore and Senator Lieberman.